Therefore, one should study our materials in a particular order and in a particular way. So the beginning of the path is Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita gives the summary of the entire spiritual path from beginning to end. It starts from Arjuna being despondent and depressed about his prospects in the battle of Kurukshetra. And we all reach this place. We all get to this point where we feel that life is not worthwhile, that even if I'm successful, what I will win is not worth the battle. It's not worth having to struggle so hard. And we become despondent, depressed, anxious. Why? Because we feel that life is not worthwhile. There isn't enough pleasure to be derived from material existence to justify the struggle and the hardship. We all reach this place. And this is a choice we all have to make, an existential choice. Are we going to go to the dark side, become bitter, cynical, exploitive, or will we turn towards the light? And will we reach towards self-realization, transcendence, and higher consciousness? So if we make this decision to reach toward the light, to reach toward enlightenment, to reach toward spiritual development, then there are so many things there to help us. And the first thing is Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is wonderful because it's spoken in very simple language. Unfortunately, most of the people who have published editions of Bhagavad Gita had their own axe to grind, and so they interpret it to justify their own particular views. But wait a minute, esoteric teaching is about realizing Krishna, and Krishna is speaking Bhagavad Gita. Well, what is Krishna views? What is Krishna's opinion? What are Krishna's points that he's trying to get across? Does anybody really write about that? Well, yes, Swami Prabhupada does, and that's why we recommend his Gita. When we first found his Gita, we were impressed that this is the most accurate and most complete presentation of the Gita we've ever seen. For example, it includes the original Sanskrit and word-for-word synonyms of the Sanskrit and the English before you even get to the translation. And then, after the translation of each verse, there is a very elaborate commentary that is drawn from the previous teachers, the previous master teachers in the lineage of the esoteric teaching. So when we saw this, we said, wow, we've never seen an edition of the Gita that is so transparent. Most of them just give the translation as if that was the only possible translation there could be. But actually, in Sanskrit, there are many ways to translate, many ways to interpret, depending on one's level of realization. So, in Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, he is giving the synonyms to show exactly how he interprets each and every Sanskrit word. And you can go to a Sanskrit dictionary and look them up and see how he is deriving the different translations. And you can see with complete transparency how he has guided your thoughts in the highest way. So this Bhagavad Gita, as it is, gives us a view of the whole spiritual path from the very first realization of we are not this body, but we're a spirit soul, through the secrets of working without karmic reactions, through the process of engaging the intelligence in discrimination of spirit from matter, all the way up through the religion of divine service or bhakti yoga. And it covers Ashtanga yoga, Jnana yoga, Buddha yoga, Raja yoga, every kind of yoga that there is. So you will be surprised to know that Bhagavad Gita is actually the source of every single yoga teaching that you can find. However, most of them don't acknowledge this. And the ones that do, as I said before, use some interpreted version of Bhagavad Gita or some incomplete version of Bhagavad Gita. They don't attach the commentaries, but the commentaries are very important. Without the commentaries, it's very difficult for an ordinary person who isn't a Vedic scholar to understand the real import of the Sanskrit verses, many of which reference other works such as the Upanishads or the original 4 Vedas. For example, Vedanta Sutra. We hear a lot about this word Vedanta. It means the conclusion of the Vedas, the final opinion, the verdict. So Vedanta is very important because it summarizes the Vedas. The Vedas can be viewed as a long conversation, beginning with the 4 Vedas themselves, and then a bunch of questions asked by the Upanishads, and those questions are answered by the Puranas, and then finally Vedanta gives the conclusion. Okay, this is what it's all about. But Vedanta Sutra is very terse. Sutra means a terse little 2 or 3 word line that sums up a whole vast field of meaning. And really only the original author knows what it means. For example, when you take study notes in class, can anybody else figure out what you mean by your study notes? No, of course not. You're scribbling while the teacher is lecturing. And then later on you go back and fill it in and make it complete. But even you, if you let them go for 6 months and come back and look at your study notes, you would have a hard time figuring out what that really meant. Similarly, when great sages meditate, they often will take little notes just to remind themselves of what they have seen or what they have experienced in their meditation. They don't want to break their meditation to sit down and actually write. The writing comes later. So similarly, Vyasadeva, he had a mission to perform. He was given this mission by his spiritual master, Narada Muni. Narada Muni said, you should describe all the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in relation with his devotees. And that will satisfy your heart, and it will also satisfy everyone else. So Vyasadeva sat down, he meditated, and he wrote sutras to describe his meditation experience. Then later on, he expanded these sutras into a complete description. The sutras are Vedanta Sutra, and the complete description is Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the heart of the esoteric teaching. But unless you study Bhagavad Gita first, you will not be able to understand it because you will not have a sufficient ontology. So this business of ontology is very important because it determines how we understand or how we see things. And this is a very important step on your quest to attain your perfect body. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of My Perfect Body. This is David Hughes, your host, reminding you to visit us on the web at esotericteaching.org, where you can purchase the complete Esoteric Teaching Introductory Seminar DVD and many CDs of transcendental music and mantras.